I will kick this presentation even off with let's say, major announcements that are really important for everyone building across Creative Cloud. So what we will ship CEP 12 as a major update at or around Max. So you will see all the major products have CEP 12 live at the Max version. We have Dreamweaver and Animate who will follow a little bit later. And CEP 12 is really a very important update, since not only do we have a new Chromium version implemented, but we also shift from OpenGL to Metal. Those of you who build with CEP or work on Mac should know this. OpenGL was deprecated from Apple, and we don't know how long this will be part of the product still. So really make sure to use this update for CEP 12 now to be able to support CEP on Mac devices for a longer time. We will have pre-releases with the different products before Mac, some starting very early, and you will learn more about this in the pre-release forums that you should all be part of. Yeah, I said Bridge and Dreamweaver will follow a little bit later. And we also plan to add no new features to CEP after this 12 release. We didn't add many features over the last years anyways. Now we have this big shift from OpenGL to Metal. And you all should know, and also let your customers know, that we are dependent from other technology like Google's Chromium and CEF with CEP, where we also don't know how quickly do they update that, how long this will be around. So we really focus what we wanted at any time on UXP and make sure that UXP becomes a standard platform for more products. We introduced UXP to InDesign end of last year. We see a lot of activities from this community on building on UXP for InDesign. We only see a few plugins live in the marketplace so far, but I'm sure we will see many more coming soon. If you have not started yet, please do so and either build your new projects on UXP for InDesign or start migrating the existing ones, and let us know your feedback. I heard some rumors that some of you stopped building for UXP since they missed something. Let us know what this is and give us feedback. You can know how to reach us in the different forums and channels, and even today, you can give the feedback directly to the product teams and let us know what's missing or what's not working so we can get this fixed. We will have some great news for you building for DVA. Premiere will be next, releasing UXP for third-party developers, and I can't wait to see plugins going live with that. And Indranil and Padma will talk more about UXP, where we also just released a new major update, which includes features that many of you have been asked for. And I think Indranil also will talk about this a little bit, but just so that you're aware of, our team is really, we are building UXP and bringing in these new features, but this is only the first step. In the next step, the product teams like InDesign, Photoshop, and going forward also Premiere Pro, they need to pick up this new version and implement this. So sometimes there's a delay when we say, oh, there's a new feature in UXP. It may take a couple of months until you see this in the individual products. But with that, I hand over back to Padma, and let's see what are the details about UXP and also UDT.
Awesome. Thank you for setting up the stage. I would begin by just talking about UXP for a couple of minutes. For those of you who don't know what UXP is, I will just give a very high-level sort of overview on that. And then we'll speak about what we released so far last year and what we have in store for the coming months. And then we'll look at a demo that Indranil would be walking us through this. And last but not the least, would love to hear feedback from you guys. So we have a survey. I'll post the link in a bit, but please do share your thoughts. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like, what you would like to see in UXP. All right. So UXP, as Ingo explained, is the Unified Extensibility Platform. It's basically a lightweight JavaScript environment. It's based out of ES6, and then it has enhanced security and privacy. And you would see us, or you would hear us talk about UDT, which stands for UXP Developer Tool. It's basically a desktop app that helps you build and test UXP-based scripts and plugins into your application. UXP was primarily introduced to overcome some of the issues that we were seeing with CEP, Extenscript, or C++ plugins, right? So CEP is like a traditional browser. It's very powerful, but it's if you open too many CEP extensions inside your application, it's almost as if you're opening those many browser windows in your machine. So over a period of time, it becomes sluggish. It has performance issues. And then it also has a slow startup time. And every time a user installs a CEP extension, they have to sort of restart the system. UXP is not a browser, yet it is a JavaScript environment. That's why you can write down your functionalities in JavaScript and build UI with HTML, CSS, but it does not carry the weight that CEP did. So that's why it's more lightweight. Users can install as many plugins as they like without having that performance or sluggishness issue. So that was primary reason that UXP kind of got introduced. I would also like to call out that UXP plugins also are supported in our marketplace, just like CEP does. So for those of you who would like to share their work and distribute their work with other fellow employees, developers, friends, you're free to do all of that. And then I think, okay, I'll talk about that in the next slide then. Oops, I'm having a little issue here. Okay. All right. So one thing I wanted to explain for experienced developers, they already know this. But whenever we talk about UXP, we are looking at APIs. But APIs internally are kind of, I would put them in two buckets, right? There are these APIs that we generally refer to as the UXP core APIs. So let's say that you have, sorry, let's say that you want to create a user interface for your plugin. So you want to write a UI with HTML and CSS, or make a network call, or have file system access, or write your functionality and write your business logic in JavaScript. All of that is sort of backed by the core APIs. But now let's say that you want to communicate with your host application, or you want to interact with the document that you have opened inside your application, like Photoshop or Premiere Pro. In that case, you start using the host-specific DOM APIs. So let's take an example that, say in Photoshop, you want to get the pixel data from the document and render it inside your UXP plugin interface. You would be using a combination of these two APIs, right? So you would be using the Photoshop imaging DOM API and image blob, and then finally be using UXP's core HTML and CSS to get that pixel data and show it in your plugin. The reason why I'm calling out that these are two sort of different buckets is because a lot of times we feel that the information kind of is easier to navigate, or it's easier for you to find if you know which kind of sphere you belong to. Some of the features that my team works on is only purely the core API stuff. So it totally depends upon how the product teams or the host applications, what kind of APIs they have in place for you to do all the fancy stuff within the application. So with that, I would also like to talk about what UXP offers as of today, right? So generally speaking, we always say UXP plugins, but actually there are like three sort of different offerings that we have in UXP. So you can build UXP scripts, plugins, or also hybrid plugins. So the difference between these three is that UXP script is nothing but just a single JavaScript file, right? So it's ideal. It requires it's ideal for a quick way to automate some tasks. It requires no setup. So it's just a simple sort of JavaScript that you drag and drop into your application and it works. In case of UXP plugins, you can think of these as a bundle of files and assets, which is driven by a plugin manifest. So it's ideal for slightly elaborate projects. It requires you to understand how the manifest needs to be configured. And then it also allows you to share and distribute your work in our Adobe marketplace. Hybrid plugins have the UXP plugins capability alongside the C++ libraries. So now you can imagine that if you have heavy computational tasks or things that you want your CPUs to get involved in, full file system access, or anything that is outside of the JavaScript realm, that's when hybrid plugins is going to be your friend. But basically, this is, since it is C++, you would need basics of UXP plus proficiency in C++ for developing such plugins. Overall, I feel that we also, inside of plugins, although we say that scripts are meant for single JavaScript file, you can also have a user interface for scripts. But remember that scripts are meant to be for a quick and easy automation task. So even if you have a user interface, it would be only during the lifetime of the script. So the moment the script is done executing, your user interface goes away. In that sense, plugins are more persistent. The user can keep interacting with them on the side while they're working on the documents. So that's sort of the difference between the three. Ingo already announced that Premiere Pro is joining a family. We already have UXP in InDesign and Photoshop. Premiere Pro would be beginning by integrating or extending the capability as UXP plugins. InDesign already has scripts and plugins, and Photoshop kind of has all three. Please do join their sessions. They have a lot of updates for you guys. They would definitely be talking about, Sam on Photoshop side would be talking about hybrid plugins and how the Photoshop C++ SDK can work along with it. InDesign 2 would be sharing some of their updates. And Premiere Pro, of course, we all are excited to see what they have in store for us. All right, so before I hand off the stage to Indranil, who's going to talk to us about what's new in UXP, just wanted to do a quick recap of what we have worked on since last partner days. So XMP is basically a metadata, extensible metadata platform, which allows you to add descriptive rights or metadata into digital files. It's basically an Adobe standard. This has been, I think, one of the biggest asks from all of you to support this, since it was innately supported in CEP. So now you can also do that in UXP. Spectrum Web Components are UI components that are based upon the Adobe Spectrum design language. Easiest way for you to build UIs if you do not want to worry about styling and matching or adhering to your application's look and feel. We've introduced all of these new things in 7.2, and we have continued to sort of evolve them with newer releases. In Unity 2.0, we had the Playground. Playground lets you experiment with APIs without the need of any setup in your machine. So very quick and dirty way for you to try something out and see what you feel about UXP in general. And then we have continued to, as I said, add more components. In Spectrum Web Components, we have more than 35 components now. And then please remember that UXP versioning needs to be, when we release a new version of UXP, it needs to be integrated with the host application. So below is sort of which version of Photoshop or InDesign would you need in order to have these features enabled inside that. So I am going to pass the stage to Indranil, because he's going to be talking through what 8.0 entails and give us a great demo on that.
Thank you, Padma, and welcome, Indranil. Can you hear us and see us and see yourself? We just had, again, some issues.
I can see him.
You can't, or you can?
I can.
Okay, I can see this as well. Indranil, your microphone is muted, and I can't unmute you. He can't hear you. Okay. Just give me a second. We are just chatting here. Your mic is muted. If we don't get this running within the next 30 seconds or so, we will probably skip.
Okay.
Hi, here he is.
Okay, so for some reason I can't hear anybody else, but I'll think that I'm audible.
Yeah.
So, continuing with the UXP 8.0 updates. So, one of the major foundational updates that we had was updating the V8 version that UXP supports to version 11, which basically introduces a lot of performance fixes, some security fixes as well. Then, one of the big ticket items that has been requested by a lot of developers here is the support for local HTML and web views. So, this is available with UXP 8.0 as well, and I'll be showing a demo on how to exercise this. We have added quite a few CSS features like transform, scale, transform, rotate, and these are all just to ensure that no existing plugin breaks. So these have all been feature guarded, but can be enabled at a very granular level. And as usual, yes, we went ahead with the second release of our Spectrum Web components. So we are now up from the previous 27 components to around 40. And UXP 8.0 should be available with Photoshop 25.11 and InDesign version 20. And Premiere Pro also should be integrating UXP 8.0. So yeah, I'll okay. So I'll go through the demo once. Let me present my screen.
Now it's coming. Perfect.
Great. And I can hear you as well, Ingo. Okay. So here is the UDT tool using which I load the plugin. So here is the plugin. So what I wanted to demonstrate here with this plugin is UXP today doesn't support PDF rendering, but with the added support for web views to serve local content, we can try to do that using web views. So here I have a very simple plugin whereby I'll be uploading PDFs from my local system, uh, creating a thumbnail out of the first page of the PDF, and adding it back to the UXP plugin. So let's go over the workflow first, and then I'll cover the code. So I'll select a PDF. So this is a dialog, and within the dialog, this is a web view, and this web view is able to access the PDF that I just uploaded. So here you're seeing the two images. So one on the left is the canvas element within the web view, and the second one is basically the image element that I've captured via the thumbnail. So I'm using the PDF to JS library within the web view. So let me send this thumbnail back to the plugin. So as you are all aware that the UXP plugin context and the web view context are two very different things. And the only way of communicating between these two contexts is using the post message. So using the same post message, I'll send the thumbnail back to the plugin. And what you see is basically SWC component and SP card with the thumbnail that we just obtained within the web view, right? And as is the case with SP card, so you can have your footers, you can have a description. I also added the timestamp to when we added this. Similarly, we can just add another one. Pretty much the same workflow. So this was the basic workflow. Let me cover the code. So first things first, the changes to the manifest. So I'm pretty sure most of you are already familiar with these regular permissions of WebView with allow the domains, and the new thing that actually enables the web views to access local content is this, the allow local rendering thing. So here I've set it to yes. which essentially enables the web views that I'm creating to access local file system content. Let's take a look at the index.html. So, so it's a relatively simple HTML that I have here. I have wrapped everything within an SP theme, and within the SP theme, I have an SP button, which we saw as the one with the add PDF. And I can also add a label there, which is the icon that you're seeing here representing the PDF. So going over the workflow basically. So once I click that button, what essentially I'm doing is I'm creating a web view element and I'm setting the source of this web view element as the webview.html. So plugin is basically going to refer to the plugins, the directory from where the plugin is being hosted. So here, if you see the plugin webview.html, so this is the actual local HTML file that is going to be served in the web view. So within the web view, as I said, I'm using the PDF.js library. And the web view HTML is again pretty simple. It just has an SP button for sending the thumbnail to the plugin and an SP progress circle just to demonstrate that the PDF to JS library is taking some time to create the thumbnail out of the PDF. The code within this is pretty standard. So what happens is we register for the event listener for the message event. This message event would be sent by the UXP plugin to the web view context. We'll see that in a minute. And within once it receives this message, so it essentially does the job of getting the PDF page and then rendering it onto the canvas element. And then finally, once we click on the button to send the thumbnail back to the plugin, we post the message with the image data URL back to the plugin. So this is basically a local HTML file, which is what is served in the web view. So going back to what happens, how that flow works. So we can add these event listeners for the life cycle of things that are happening in the web view. So the load start event essentially indicates that the web page has started loading. Load stop, it indicates that the web page has stopped loading. Basically, the loading is complete. So once the loading is complete, what I do is uh, I post the message to the web view with the file's native path. So this file native path is basically just a simple regular opening of the file. So I get the file for opening using the picker dialog that we just saw. And using that same file, I send the actual native path of the file back to the web view. And this is the same file that the web view uses for the PDF URL. So this e.data basically is the event and the data is the payload, and that is the file name that I'm getting from the plugin context. So once once the web view is done with the processing of the thumbnail, it sends a message back to the plugin context. So again, just like the web view listens for the message event, the plugin also listens for the message event from the web view context. And we close the dialog, we remove the web view element, and then this is just a simple utility function for creating the SP card element, wherein the thumbnail is actually just slotted inside the SP card. So the image data URL is what we got from the web view context, and we are just adding it to the SP card. So this is pretty much the flow for this workflow. And while I'm at it, I'd also like to just cover quickly how the HWC components are being used. So as you can see in this index.html, so this is the one that is being used in the plugin context. So here I'm using SP theme. So SP theme is the overall wrapper within which all the HWC components are usually added. And so I'm also using an SP button, and then I'm using SP icon. So I'm pretty sure if you would have gone through the HWC icon set, so it's a huge vast icon set that you can use, and that's available right now with UXP, even with UXP 7.4. Right. So maybe I'll just cover quickly as to how do you add a new SWC component to your plugin. So let's say I want to add banner. So I'll use this yarn add, or if npm is what you use, so npm install. The thing to note here is that I'm actually installing the banner from the SWC UXP wrappers namespace and not directly from the SWC web component Spectrum web components namespace. So the entire point of having wrappers over the Spectrum web components is because UXP, not being a browser, doesn't support all the CSS functionalities or even the DOM APIs that the SWC components are using. So the UXP team has come up with a wrapper approach, which essentially enables you to consume the Spectrum web components within a UXP context, right? So once I do this, so just to confirm that we have our banner in place. So here, if you see, this is what we just installed, the SWC EXP wrappers banner, right? Now to use it, so this is the first step. You install the dependency that you do that you need. The second step is actually importing it. So this is how you just import it. So it just picks up the source banner, the JS file from the banner package. So I save this, and then I can just use the banner. So as you see, I'm seeing a new banner here. So these are pretty much the only three steps that are involved if you're trying to add a new SWC component. And so the first step, just to reiterate, you do a yarn add, or you just essentially add it to your package dependency. The second step is you import the actual definitions of the web component, because this is the file that actually defines the custom element that the SP banner is using. And the third step is actually using the SP banner element. So this was the demo that I had.